Hey guys, Quantum here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at some gameplay for my spicy version of Ruby Amethyst. If you're unfamiliar with this, the deck profile video and Dreamborn deck list is in the description and likely pinned in the comments. Essentially, I built this deck focusing a little bit more on locations and using the new Tuk Tuk from Ursula's Return in order to leverage the power of locations, because we know how strong the Queen's Castle is, especially into the Emerald Steel matchup and the Ruby Sapphire, which are two decks that are likely to give Ruby Amethyst some trouble. So in an effort to try to improve that matchup, we built this. Now you can see here we're going up against Amber Steel Song because, even though we built this deck for combating certain other decks, we do need to be very wary of how it fares against other decks in the meta. So in this particular video, we're going to have a best of 2 against Amber Steel. I do have another video where I go a best of 2 against Ruby Sapphire, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. But we are on the play in game 1, and then we'll be on the draw in game 2. So again, simulating what you'd see at a set championship or a Lorcana challenge. Now, Amber Steel Song continues to be a very strong deck. This is like, the classic set 1 matchup where Amber Steel Song definitely ended up coming out ahead in my opinion. And it's still very strong to this day, simply because the mechanic that it relied on in the first chapter is still very relevant, where they're able to generate a ton of advantage off of a whole new world once they dump their hand with the smaller characters and out your board with the songs, depleting their hand resources but being left with a little bit of a board state and then just wheeling into 7 fresh cards, while you likely have no board state and they're going to just continue to quest and put on the pressure. Now, Ruby Amethyst's answer to this has always been be prepared, or some way to wipe the board to prevent them from continuing to quest. And if we see a be prepared, we should be a-okay. But you can see we're very slow to develop our board. The opponent does end up shifting the Robin Hood, which was a risk for me using that Mim Fox on the previous turn to out their Cinderella, but I had to take the risk because you cannot just let them continue to develop a board. So the Robin Hood does come down, it gets 4 damage on it, taking out the Mim Fox, and they get the 2 lore off of it. So they are definitely ahead now, and they haven't even used the whole new world yet. They drop Ariel, grabbing and let the Storm Rage on, and if they Storm Rage my Cusco, that represents a card draw, which just leaves me more susceptible to getting wheeled here, because all the advantage that I would potentially gain off of these draw cards, I would just lose to a whole new world. So they're going to go ahead and just pass after questing here and dumping out their hand some more. They got 2 cards left in hand, so I do have an inkling that they have a whole new world at this point. I'm going to go ahead and play the Jim Hawkins into the Queen's Castle, but this is the problem with Amber Steel's Song, is that their board is so wide that they can throw everything into the castle to out it if they wanted to. So again, 2 cards in hand after inking. What this does do, though, is it prevents them from questing for 5 lore, right? 1 with Queen, Cinderella, and Ariel each, and then 2 with the Robin Hood. That's 5 lore, or singing with Ariel and then questing for 4 lore with the other 3 characters. Instead, they would likely opt to throw everything into the Queen's Castle to out it, which again just stops them from getting 5 lore. They out the Jim with the hard casted Along Came Zeus, and they do indeed opt to throw everything into the castle to just wipe my board out. With 1 card left in hand, I'm like, okay, is it a whole new world or not? My hand must have been really bad for me to do this play. I play a rabbit to draw, and then ink a goat, and then play a snake to bounce the rabbit. Yeah, so this really is playing into a whole new world here. But being on 6 ink, I'm like, maybe my opponent thinks I'll be casting that Be Prepared next turn, so they would definitely want to cast the whole new world, sorry. They top deck a Sleepy's Flute on top of everything else. I'm like, holy crap. And then they do indeed sing the whole new world. So I don't remember if they said that they top decked the flute or the whole new world, but I'm assuming they top decked the flute, because yeah, they wouldn't be aggressively dumping their hand out on all those previous turns unless they already had the game plan of dropping the wheel on me there. So I draw into a fresh 7. I've got a Mim Snake on board. I've got 6 ink. So despite the situation looking really bad for me, I'm like, as long as I see a Be Prepared, I'm okay. They said that they didn't like the hand they drew into, because you can see there's a 3rd wheel that's gone now. They drew into double wheel. They wheel again by singing with Robin Hood, and I did not lose a Be Prepared. I did not draw one. So I'm like, this is great, because if I draw a Be Prepared here, I'm in the driver's seat now, because I have the better top end in my deck to deal with the opponent's board. So if I can draw Be Prepared and wipe out this board state, yes, I have to contest with the flute, but with my locations and my Jim Hawkins and my Tuk Tuks, I should be able to really aggressively outpace the flute with the location. So this is another area where this deck could potentially come out on top. Unfortunately, and this is why in the deck profile I said you want to probably go back to running 4 Be Prepared. And what's interesting is if you paid attention to some of the top deck lists that were running Ruby over this past weekend, which was like the June 22nd and 23rd, Saturday, Sunday, you'll see a lot of the Ruby Amethyst lists and other Ruby lists running 4 Be Prepared. So we all kind of came to this conclusion, it looks like, that, yeah, Be Prepared is still really relevant and really strong. Even if it gets ripped out of your hand with an Ursula Deceiver, like it's worth running 4 because of how high impact that card is. Emerald decks usually have a hard time rebuilding their board from a Be Prepared. So I definitely think that Be Prepared is making its way back into the format, which is kind of crazy when you think about how everybody was cutting Be Prepared at the start, right? Everybody was on like 1 or 0 Be Prepareds, and now we're seeing 4 Be Prepareds coming back in. So here, I think I'm just like, yeah, doing something. I don't know what I'm doing, but if I don't have the Be Prepared, I basically lose, which I clearly don't because I'm exerting 5 for a Jim Hawkins with an RLS, which would have been great follow-up to a Be Prepared next turn, but unfortunately I don't have it. So I play the Tuk Tuk. So yeah, I got, oh no, wait, what am I doing? How do I exert 1 to play a Tuk Tuk? Oh, I played the wrong card. I meant to play a Broom. There you go. Which you can argue I should have played the Broom first, then played the Jim Hawkins to banish the Broom, but I don't think it really matters because I just lose anyways because I don't have that Be Prepared. So yeah, the double flutes, yeah, I got 4 in hand, and I don't know if I included the recording up to where I sift through my deck and try to find where the Be Prepareds were. So yeah, I show them that I have 2 rabbits in hand. Oh, a Be Prepared on the very bottom of the, oh no, not the very bottom of the deck, but much later on in the deck, not even coming up anytime soon. Looking for the last Be Prepareds, and there are the final 2 right near the bottom. So I was like, yeah, that's what I needed to see. So I lose game 1 despite being on the play. Let's go ahead and take a look at game number 2. Alright, so for game 2, we are now on the draw, and I'm feeling not so great because, again, we know how strong Amber Steel Song can be, especially on the draw when they get that early shift into the Whole New World. Like, it's just such a powerful combo, and this is why I keep saying that. The Whole New World, when you know how to use that card, man, that card is really, really strong. Like, borderline bannable. I mean, that's why Wield is banned in Magic, right? Anyways, the opponent here starts off with a Cinderella, and then drops a Robin Hood, and then they strength my Chernobog followers, and I feel really good about that. So they only have 3 cards left in their hand. Yes, if they have the shift Robin Hood into a Whole New World, then it's really bad. But, you know, having to use this strength there on a Chernobog, you know, I'm fine with that. They do indeed have the shift, but no Whole New World comes down. They have 2 cards left in the hand, and I'm feeling pretty good. Now, of course, if they have the Aerial, that's another card that represents tremendous value here because it allows them to scry 4 deep for that Whole New World, which, you know, I guess on turn 3, they're opting to play the Robin Hood instead of an Aerial, which makes sense because you developed a bigger threat that can get you lore right away. So on turn 3, again, just being a little bit behind on the tempo, we are going to Fox back the Chernobog followers and not do anything with it. They're going to go ahead and play a Sleepy's Flute and then just sing Zeus to out the Mim Fox. So they have no hand, which is really good for me, despite them having an established board state. The Robin Hood and the Cinderella aren't representing too much of a big threat here. So we're going to be on 4 ink next turn, or I should say this turn, making some long, hard thoughts here on what to do. And this footage is sped up 150%. So we end up inking the Broom to play the Chernobog, the one that was bounced back to hand, and I just passed turn. So not really a good showcase for this deck, huh? It's showing that it's a, you know, just not developing on curve the way that you want it to. And this was always a problem with Ruby Amethyst, right? I mean, you play very succinctly, like you have your 1-drops, your 8 1-drops, you have your 8 2-drops, you have your 8 3-drops, or, you know, usually more 3-drops. But you want to play nicely on curve, and when your curve gets disrupted, this is where the deck can suffer. Now, that being said, the other decks have to be able to capitalize on that, and if they don't curve out perfectly either, this is where Ruby Amethyst does indeed have some staying power, because we do have very strong top end. So yeah, they have the Robin Hood, but we're going to be on 5 ink now, and this represents Maui territory, which we absolutely are going to drop here and take out the Robin Hood. Yes, they get an extra draw, and we're just hoping that they don't have the Whole New World. If they draw the Aerial here, at least it's a little bit more manageable because they can't play Aerial, get a Whole New World, and sing a Whole New World right now. So we still have some time to continue to dump our hand and develop boards, and being on 6 ink next turn does represent good value. They're just going to hard cast Queen, and that feels really good for me, so not even able to use their Flute, and they're not going to do anything with their Cinderella. So okay, they end up inking the small Queen there. So feeling pretty good now about this match, right? We didn't draw our Be Prepared, so we lost game one. If they don't draw their whole new world, they likely lose games that they don't see that card. So now that they're in top deck mode, I'm going to drop a rabbit because, again, if they do see the whole new world, they sing it with queen. At least I have a rabbit that bounces back and represents more value there on the new hand of 7. We're going to go ahead and sing Teeth and Ambitions, putting 2 damage on rabbit in order to out the Cinderella. Just, again, trying to play around the potential whole new world, because if they do top deck a whole new world, I want their board state to be as minimal as possible. Okay, we're going to opt to snake back. I think I was thinking here if I wanted to bring back the Maui, but I do end up bringing back the rabbit, which, again, is playing negatively into a whole new world if they do top deck it. But I'm feeling okay, because... Okay, they top deck a Smee. I guess if they top deck the whole new world, they have 5 ink. They would sing it with queen. They still have 5 ink to work with, so it is a little risky. Then they probably just play out the rest of their hand to out my Maui. But at the very least, I'm on the upper end of the ink curve now, so my Be Prepared just put in what, like, just wipe the board with whatever they develop, and then my top end with my Jim Hawkins and all my locations just usually will close out the game against the Amber Steel Song player. What you do have to be aware of in this matchup, though, is the queen is an incredibly useful card. And the queen being able to boost up characters is a way for them to instantly out your high toughness or high willpower locations, right? Because the queen's castle can instantly make a Smee, which is on board here, a 7/3 body, which is an instant out to the queen's castle, right? So just keep that in mind. They top deck another flute, and they're just out of gas at this point. And my friend was telling me this is why he doesn't like Amber Steel's Song. Even if you aggressively mulligan for an aerial or a whole new world, it can go very bad very quickly, because you might end up with 2 whole new worlds or something, and then that just feels really bad because you have no way to ink those uninkables like you do in the Sapphire versions of the deck. So yeah, not really showcasing what the deck is doing. I'm going to end up inking a Jim Hawkins, which tells me I unfortunately do not have a location in hand. So, this deck is somewhat combo oriented. But if anything, this should show you that the deck doesn't always need to see its pop-off combo to win. Like, it still can do what Ruby Amethyst does, which is play a tempo-based game, play on curve, and still able to maintain advantage. I got 2 cards left in my hand, so really just trying to play around the whole new world top deck as much as possible. The opponent continues to have a fairly weak board state. We're going to quest with the Broom and likely play a card to banish Broom and draw a card. No, we're just going to raw play the Pinocchio and leave the Broom up. Use Rabbit to take out the Smee, which is going to force a draw, and then use Snake in order to take out the Robin Hood. Now I finally play the Jim Hawkins with the location, and this is just, this is game at this point. There's nothing, even if the opponent top decks a whole new world, I don't think there's anything they can really do. We pay 1 to move something, the Pinocchio. Okay, they drop Tinkerbell. That's a pretty good top deck, not gonna lie. To take out the Mim Snake with already 2 damage on it, and the Pinocchio that I paid 1 to move to the Queen's Castle. Our Broom takes 1 damage, and so does our Jim. But we're going to be able to gain 2 off this Queen's Castle and draw 2 on top of that. And yeah, like, if your Queen's Castle sticks, I guess this is a decent showcase. It's going to show you, like, look how strong this is into every matchup. If your Queen's Castle sticks, it's just insane. So we drop RLS Legacy, and what's even more crazy is I have enough ink here to move... if I had a Tuk Tuk, I can move them for free, but I can move Jim and the Broom, I think, to the RLS Legacy. Okay, actually, I don't even need to. I can move Jim for free. Never mind. What am I saying? I move Jim for free because Jim has the effect of when you play a location, you can move him there for free. And then I pay 1 to move the Broom, and then I quest with both. And then, instead of keeping them protected with Evasive, I just move them back to the Queen's Castle because I'm dumb. And I'm like, yeah, just go ahead and run into the Broom with or run into Jim with your Tinkerbell, and then take out my Broom so I don't draw anything. But I'm on 16 lore, so I think I win the game anyways. Oh no, I was on 12 lore, so he's gonna I was like, take out the I tell him take out the Broom, or take out the Jim, sorry, then take out the Broom with the 2 damage from the Tinkerbell, wipe my board, because the final card in my hand is a Be Prepared. So I think I did this to just, like, show you guys, like, oh, even if I lose my board, like, you can just follow up with the Be Prepared, and if you have the location stuck on board, like, your opponent can't out them. So I just dropped the Be Prepared instantly, and then drop a Chernobog Followers, and I'm on 16 lore, so that means I win next turn, unless the opponent, I don't think there's anything the opponent can top that, because they don't play Rise of the Titans to out a location, so we end up taking that one. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the video. Stay tuned for the Ruby Sapphire matchup if you're interested. So we go 1-1 against Amber Steel Song. We could have gone 2-0, in my opinion, if we would have drawn into a Be Prepared off of that second whole new world that the opponent cast, but unfortunately we didn't. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you again for watching. If you made it this far, Quantum is out.